Welcome to Pittsburgh. Can you just speak more about what your exact role is going to be and your responsibilities during games?
During games, I'll be the eye in the sky. So I'll be up in the press box sitting with Andy Kyoto, and I'll have a radio on and be attached to the bench and just giving feedback based on what the head coach wants and some of the other assistants. And so pretty vague description, but along those lines.
Rich, how did this opportunity come about with the Penguins? I know you maybe crossed paths with Kyle in Toronto. Was it just a matter of that, or are there other connections here that led you here?
Yeah, Kyle, obviously, and Jason Spezza. I was in Toronto for nine seasons, seven as a player and 2 as a coach. So Kyle and Jason were very familiar with me and me with them. And then, once the summer hit and the season ended and I was let go in Anaheim, Dan Muse, when he received the job as head coach, I think, just being in the game and probably going through his own interview process, had identified potential coaches and reached out to me to interview for the job, and grateful to be here.
You spent some time in player development with Toronto, obviously. Compare that to coaching, and maybe what do you enjoy with the player development and how you integrate that into being sort of a vague assistant coach?
Yeah,
Put it.
Yeah. I think my role is going to be interesting. Like there'll be a lot of moving parts, and I think it will always be evolving. I'll be able to add value in the player development department. So I'm really excited to work with Tom Kotsopoulos and his staff, and just bridge any kind of gap or link the coaching staff with the development department. When I retired, that was my first job in Toronto, and I immediately got to work with the amateur players at the NCAA and the OHL and junior levels across Canada, and that was a big reason why I wanted to get into that. I think when I was a young player, I benefited from working with skill coaches, retired players, people that didn't play in pro hockey but have studied the game, and so I really wanted to get into that. And then it led me to working with the Marlies and the Leafs, and I feel like having that foundation and that experience allowed me to step into coaching with maybe a different lens, and I'm continuously drawing back to my time doing that. And I think that this role in particular will be a combination of player development and then, for lack of a better term, coaching.
I know you're only 2 weeks into this, so it's maybe not fair to ask, but do you have the goal someday of being a head coach at some level? I mean, is that the end game at all for you?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly have, a goal of just gaining experience. And, I think whatever the role is that I've done and what I get into in the future, just maintaining that mentality. I was like this as a player of always just trying to get better and learn. I think the game is changing at a rapid pace, faster now than it's ever changed. And to just draw on my experience as a player probably wouldn't benefit me as a coach. So do I think about head coaching or getting back on a bench? Sure, but it's not my focus right now. I mean, my focus right now is to embrace my role and add immediate value in what I can do, but also learn. I mean, you look at the staff that has been put in place here with Dan Muse and Todd Nelson and Mike Stuthers, and then having Nick Bonino just retired. I know what that feels like, and there's tons of people in the organization. Jason's here on a daily basis, so I'm in a position to learn myself, and obviously all the players that are here, from Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and Chris Letang, all those guys, Carlson. Obviously excited to work with them, and then the upcoming prospects and everyone down the roster. So when this opportunity to interview came up, and going through that whole process, and then eventually being asked to join the staff, everything just aligned. And my wife Isabel and I are just excited to come to Pittsburgh, and now I've gotten out and taken some drives through the city, and it's just as you guys would know, I hadn't spent much time in the area, and it's beautiful. I mean, all the different places I've been to And then coming into the organization, from the minute I joined, everyone who I've interacted with has just welcomed me and Iz with open arms, and it's really made it easy to want to get going and contribute. So I'm really, really lucky and grateful. I mean, the Pittsburgh Penguins are one of the most storied organizations in hockey history, so I'm pretty thankful.
When you say the game is changing, do you mean the players and the skills or the tactics? What?
All of it. I think we're watching before our eyes just the caliber of athletes that are out there. I think this last playoffs, I mean, a number of people said it might be some of the best hockey that's ever been played, just from a rivalry standpoint and a speed and a skill. And I think there's things that will never change within our game and in sports and in general, the will to win and competitive spirit. But I believe that, it's always good to be forward thinking and take what's worked and continue to learn and experiment and just try to stay humble and have an open mind. And that's how I approach my job. And, it's these kids are very good coming up. So,
Rich, I ask this in every respectful fashion. You've been very open about some of the challenges you've had. Mm-hmm. How much has that maybe crafted your approach as a coach? And are there, through the triumphs you've had, is there lessons you can offer to prospects or current players, anything like that, for any of that?
Well, I think the people that I've always looked up to, I feel like I've always related to people that have overcome a challenge or, persevered through something, and I'm no different. Every day brings a new challenge, and I wouldn't change anything I've gone through in my life. I'm always trying to make new relationships, and I think that I definitely draw on certain experiences in certain times, but I think just not forcing anything. I just act like myself every day, and I think it's shaped who I've become as a human being and as a player and a coach. And I'll be different in a year from now, but I'll be the same. So the biggest thing is I just love hockey, and I'm really grateful to be here. I think it's I'm pretty lucky to be able to work in hockey every day, and I've been through a lot, and I know there's people in this organization. I got to meet Kevin Stevens today, who's been an advocate, and his story has been pretty inspirational to a person like me. So I draw on people that have talked like that, and if I can help out or someone can draw inspiration, great.
What do you remember about your fights with Sheldon Brookbank?
What do I remember about what?
Your fights with Sheldon Brookbank. You had a handful. Your coworkers now.
Yeah. No, I got to meet Sheldon. I'd never met Sheldon. He's a great guy. He's a great competitor, and I remember just it's all that. It was an honor to be out there with him and have some good battles. And he's very well loved around the organization, and no surprise, he's an extremely nice guy, and it's been awesome meeting everybody. So. Really big fan of Sheldon Brookbank.
Thanks, Connor.